Welcome to my channel. So today's topic of discussion is farmers, and farmers are facing rising costs and lower profits, and they're incurring things like bankruptcy, and we don't want them to go bankrupt. No one wants farmers out of business. The banks do not want the farmers out of business. The supermarkets do not want farmers out of business. The consumer does not want farmers out of business. So we need to find ways to assist farmers in creating profitable situations. One of the things that America did really well for 100 years or so, it's to simplify systems to make money. And we did this on farms really well. Like, nobody in the world could compete with how we grow grain crops and potato crops and lettuce crops and things. We just outcompete everybody in this because we take our labor out of the system and we turn it into machines. We mechanize everything and simplify everything down to the bare minimum that is required to get a crop. In doing so, we've reduced the value of the crop. And every time we reduce the value of the crop and inflation goes up a little bit, the profitability of the farm goes down. And so the farms have to buy more land and grow more crop to make those numbers work again. And so farms have exponentially grown out of proportion to profitability because of mechanization and reduction of cost of product to market. We don't want farmers going out of business. We need to either change the business model or change the way farms work, or do both and adapt, modify the model, modify the thinking, or modify the price. We need to do something. Somewhere in there, we as a society need to make these changes. I am not the sole responsible person changing how farmers are going to make money or not lose profitability. Although, that being said, that I am not technically responsible for any one farm, I can give the farmers some ideas on how to mitigate losses. We can reduce their evaporation losses for watering. We can reduce their crop losses due to things like wind and extreme cold and extreme heat. We can modify systems relatively inexpensively and have beneficial results. If a farmer is monocropping, that means he has one single crop that he harvests every year to make money. We switch from monocropping to polyculture cropping. In other words, we have more than one crop going at any one given time during the season, and then we have different sales dates for different crops of the year. And then we have, if a crop fails, we have a secondary crop to back up on. If that crop fails, we have a third crop to back up on, and the list goes on and on. Jeff Lawton made a really good point, and he said farmers need to think like gardeners and garden like farmers. So on their large acreage, they need to think like a gardener. How do they produce more out of a smaller section of their land and then extend that out over the system and build something that's reasonably executable, that is profitable? Think like a gardener. What would a gardener do in a very small space? Does a gardener use pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, biocides of any kind? Typically, no. And the reason that gardeners do not use biocides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, etc., is they have a large assortment of crops in a very small zone, and they can tend each crop individually, right? Or the crops are protecting each other through a symbiotic relationship, and it's not a single buffet for a single pest. So there might be a bunch of pests, but they only eat a little bit. They just nibble a little bit, and then they get predated on by a bird or a lizard or a snake, or a rat or something. Something else comes in and predates on the thing that's eating their crop. And then those predators have predators that come in and predate on them, and on and on and on the chain goes. In that being said, if farmers could just understand how gardeners operate and then adapt small portions of how gardening works to a farm, the results will exponentially increase. And that would be a good problem to have, because then they have to hire people and they have to charge more for their product and they have to make more money. And they cycle back to something more akin to reality versus a monocrop, a singular crop, where they produce so much, it's so cheap to produce and sell, it drops the value, but their costs keep going up, and that's inflation. Whereas they could alter their crop sets and the timing of their crops and their inner row crops, and how they mulch and strategize, and they could bring their focus back closer to their barns and really focus on making everything more efficient from their barn forward, and then slowly build outward again with a new system. And they could go back to being profitable very easily. And any farmer that wants help with this, leave a comment below, like this channel, subscribe to this channel, and share this information with your farmers, your other farmers, even with your ranch hands, your ranchers, your ranch hands, whoever you have working for you. Share this information with them, and we can collaborate and get your farm into a more profitable state. And that's what I have for you today. Have a great day.